Okay, welcome to video 4 of our advanced foreman training. Now, this week I attended a meeting on a project. It was a solar project. It's 150 megawatts, and it's struggling to complete on time, mostly due to weather conditions. But the general contractor on the site, the prime contractor, was pressuring the electrical contractor, whom I was working for, pressuring them because, due to circumstances, the critical path kind of fell in their lap. I'm not sure that it was due to their own shortcomings, but nonetheless, they own that right now, and so a group of very high level individuals were looking over this schedule. Now, it wasn't this schedule right here. I meant to email the schedule to myself so I could actually bring it up for you, but it really doesn't matter. This is just a schedule in a P6, Primavera P6, that I found on the internet. And it's very similar. So the point I want to make is there were some very educated and high-level people in this meeting trying to figure out, why we arrived where we were at that present moment in time, and, how we were going to make corrections to get back on schedule and complete on time. And they were struggling. They were struggling to figure out what caused the problem, whether the schedule was, giving them the right information or not, and, what it all meant, and how they were going to fix things. So my point is this. If these people can't figure this schedule out and can't use this tool to manage their project, okay, then how are the people who really need this information going to be able to interpret it and use it to produce the results that they're looking for? And by the people that need it, I mean the people in the field, the construction team, the foreman, the workers, the superintendents. How are they going to use this tool? You show this to them, their eyes are going to glass over. And they don't understand this. The people who are managing this project don't understand this. As a matter of fact, this prime contractor, they have a scheduling guy who goes around from project to project to project. He flies into a town, gets off the plane, checks into a hotel. Next day he drives over to the site, and he goes in and he updates their schedule to the best of his ability. or her, could be a her. And the people that he's updating it for, they had no idea what all of this means. So, what I very often see, is people with high level education and experience in writing schedules put together things like this, and then they use this as a tool to watch their project go into the toilet. They watch it as a tool to watch their project go into the toilet because nobody understands it and nobody can use it to manage their processes and their crews and their team on site. They can't use it because they don't understand it. And I'll be honest with you, I can work my way back through a schedule like this, and I can, over time, takes a lot of time, figure out where things started going south, and I can pick some information out of here that tells me where the project is, but it's very difficult to really use it or change it or alter it to show realistically, how you're going to fix the problem. Okay, so today we're going to create our own master schedule. It's going to be much less complicated than this right here. And it's going to be a tool that you can either print out or throw up on a large monitor in front of your crew. They're going to be able to look at that, and they're going to be able to tell who's succeeding and who isn't succeeding. Okay? And it's going to enable you to be able to put the pressure where you need the pressure. If someone's installing material and they're running ahead of your schedule, you don't have to, go crack the whip on them, right? If someone is struggling and falling behind schedule, that's where you want to focus your attention. That's where you're going to want to go apply pressure. You're going to want to find out what their challenges are, what the issues are. Is it a morale problem? Is it just a site-specific problem that no one anticipated that's slowing them down? That's making their work more difficult than the estimate projected. It'll show you where you need to focus your attention in order to keep things moving, because when a task falls behind, it is a chain reaction through the entire schedule. It starts slowing other things down, and then pretty soon it just ripples through and causes you to push past your projected completion date, and you have to fix that. When that happens, you have to make what's called a recovery schedule. You need to make adjustments in your schedule to show how you're going to recover the time that you've lost and still complete at the projected completion time. And that's what this team was trying to do this week, but they were struggling to interpret all of this information and put together a plan that would enable them to get back to their completion date. And if it's that difficult to accomplish that, then you're not using a good tool. That's my opinion. Now, I look at things a little differently than perhaps a prime contractor or even a subcontractor and their project management team. Because I have to take the situation and I have to show it to the construction team, the guys who are actually installing the material. I have to, show them and make it clear to them what they have to do to make success a reality. And I can't do it with a tool like this. It's just impossible. It has to be a lot simpler than that. So, if someone in the office wants to build something like this and use it to watch their project go in the toilet, that's fine with me. But I'm going to build something that translates to my actual construction team, okay, so that they can understand it and, accomplish the goals, the same goals that the project management team is trying to achieve. And that's what I want you to grasp. I want you to get that. A schedule is useless unless those people in the field can understand it and understand what their role is, okay, to make it a reality. And it's great, to put together something really phenomenal and fantastic like this. Took someone a lot of time and a lot of effort, okay? But if they're the only one that understands it, it's crap. It's not good for anything. Okay, it's got to translate. It's got to translate down to the field. So, with that being said, let's jump into this thing. Let me show you what I recommend. Okay? Okay, when we last were together, we uploaded or imported our file for our project, our estimate, and we built our work breakdown structure. Now I want to talk about work breakdown structure for a minute, okay, because I'm going to use some different terminology and I want you to understand why. In this day and age, if you don't want to sound ignorant, you have to use WBS or work breakdown structure. Otherwise, people will think you're ignorant. Now, what I've noticed being an old man, because I'm getting up in my years now, still useful, but what I've noticed is colleges and universities, in an effort to make their information seem new and fresh and cutting edge, have started, I'd say in the last 10 years, creating a lot of acronyms, WBS, right? In order to make the information feel fresh and new. And here's the example I'll use, because I have talked to contractors, in the not so distant past, and who have wanted to know if I understand building information modeling and BIM software. And the reality of BIM, building information modeling, is that my generation invented that in the 1980s. Okay? And what we used to do is build a box and put a fluorescent light inside of there, like about the size of a 2x4 drop-in or whatever, upside down. And then on top of the box, we'd put a piece of glass on there. And we'd go get the electrical drawing and we'd lay it on top of there. And then we would grab the HVAC sheet for the same floor or building area, set that right on top, and that fluorescent light would shine up through those drawings, and we could see where the conflicts were. Building information modeling. Okay? So nowadays you can do that with software, right? But it doesn't mean that we weren't doing it 30 and 40 years ago. Okay? So sometimes, and you'll have to forgive me, because I think an education is valuable and important, but you know, just because you're doing the same thing with software now doesn't mean that it wasn't happening 40 years ago. And I think, you know, a lot of these young men and women come out of college and they've been taught all these fresh ideas with new acronyms, and they think that, you know, they're the only ones who understand this stuff. And, you know, they tend to, I guess, consider you ignorant or uneducated if you know, use different terminology or whatever. So, you know, I try to communicate in their language, but I'm going to tell you something about work breakdown structure. I'm not going to use work breakdown structure because I don't give a damn about work breakdown structure, and here's why. I've already explained to you my philosophy on time management. Okay? You make a list of things you have to do. You prioritize them in the order of importance. You work on the very first thing on the list until it's complete, and then you move on to the next. Now, if you want to translate that to a project, then all the people on your list get on your team get a prioritized list. They get a list, they prioritize it, or you prioritize it for them. You ask them to work on the first thing on the list until it's complete, and then you have them move on to the next thing. If there's a problem with the first thing on the list, material's not there or the tool's not there, then you jump to the second thing on the list until the material is there, and then you go back to the first thing. You work on things in order. And the reason I want to point this out is, you know, that's how you work your way through a schedule. The biggest problem I see is, you know, and I'm talking about very large projects, very sophisticated contractors. They don't follow that rule and they start piggy hopping all over the job site, and then they wonder why their schedule is garbage. Okay, it's important to try to follow that list of tasks in the proper order. You have to work very, very hard at it. And, you know, we don't live in a perfect world. You're not ever going to be in a perfect world. As a matter of fact, construction is organized chaos. But you have to be the person to force the people underneath you to follow that structure as closely as possible. They cannot have permission to go piggy hopping around and jumping around however they want to. And sometimes it's difficult, but you gotta force them to follow the order. Okay? So we're not going to think about this schedule as a work breakdown structure, because that doesn't mean shit to anybody. Okay? A prioritized task list does make sense. If you tell them, you know, this is your list of tasks, and they're prioritized in the order of importance, and that's the way I need you to work through it, it's going to make a lot more sense to them than if you go out and tell them this is your work breakdown structure. Okay? I'm the guy, you're the guy, or you're the gal who has to translate the company's vision to the people in the field who are actually installing the material. And this is where things break down. Companies get really organized at the top and detailed, and they make fancy schedules and stuff. And nobody in the field understands it, and then they wonder where things went south. Okay, so you have to be a translator. We're not going to talk about this as work breakdown structure. We're going to talk about this as a prioritized task list. And right here, what we have is our list of phases of construction, our prioritized list of phases of construction. And if I open one of these, then I'm going to see my prioritized task list for this phase of construction. Excuse me. Okay, so if you followed along and you did what I asked you to do and you prioritized all of these lists, then the next thing, all we have to do is open this Gantt chart tab right here, and I'll select that. And you can see over here that all of our phases of construction are listed right here. There's little check boxes next to each one. I can check one if I want, and if I click View Chart, it will open that phase of construction. But if I want to open the entire list of phases of constructions and the tasks that are assembled underneath them, then I'm going to leave all of these boxes blank, and I'm just going to click View Chart. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to read this right up here, and it will tell you that. Okay? So, there are some other features here that we're not going to worry about right now, since we're just still in the setup portion. We're going to click View Chart. Why did I just go through that without? Okay. This is our Gantt chart. Now you can see that all of the phases of construction are listed here in the purple rows. And underneath each phase of construction is our task list. since our phases of construction are in order and our tasks underneath them are in order, all this is one big giant task list, okay, that's prioritized in the order that we need to attack it in order to complete this project on time. But there's one thing missing. Everything can't start on the same day, right? So we need to schedule this work out. Otherwise, if I scroll to the bottom right here, you'll notice down at the bottom is a manpower loading chart. It tells you how much manpower you need on site every day in order to complete your project on time. So if I left these all stacked up like this, we'd need somewhere around 170 people on site for one day, and then we could drop down to 20 and then 10 for 2 more days and the job would be done, right? Obviously that's not realistic, so we need to spread all of these out into a schedule. And I'm going to do the first 4 tasks, or let's say 6 tasks right here for you, just to show you how this works. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to pick my crew size, okay? Because the size of the crew determines the duration of the task, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to say that for these tasks under underground feeder conduit, I'm going to put together a 3 worker crew. So I'll change that to 3. And you'll see that this extended out. Okay, so the program knows how many hours are associated with each task, and by applying the crew size, it will determine the duration of that task, how long it takes, right? And you can use that to your advantage. I mean, obviously, there's a range of people you could throw at that task, and this is where some of your experience will come in. You should know pretty close what that range of workers will be. In other words, to complete efficiently. You know, if you stick 10 people on it, there's probably going to be 5 standing around. If you need to hurry up and get it done quick, maybe you can throw 5 at it efficiently. But in order to, keep up with the backhoe and the trenching and whatever, maybe, 3's your best number. What I'm telling you is you can fuss this a little bit through manpower, but at some point you're going to have more manpower working on that task than you can efficiently use. And if they're not being efficient, they're wasting money, right? Sometimes we get pushed into that corner if we need to make up time on a project. We have to throw a little more manpower at it than we normally would to get that task or group of tasks completed quicker. But when you're starting a project, you want to try to stay with your optimal crew size. And a lot of that's going to be determined by your experience, in completing that task in the past, and how much manpower, you could use efficiently. And so I'm going to say 3 people for all of these tasks. And I'm going to schedule into the branch conduit as well, to give them 3 people. Okay, so there's my crew size for those 2 tasks right there. Now I need to schedule that work out. Now, obviously, these 3 workers can't work on this first task and the second task at the same time, right? If I was going to do that, I'd need 2 crews, and I want to use 1 crew for this work right here. I want to use a second crew for this work right here. Okay, if this was the type of thing where I wanted these 2 tasks to happen simultaneously, then I would use 2 crews for this. But I'm just going to use 1 crew here and 1 crew here. What that tells me is this second task can't start until the first task is done, right? So I'm going to go over here. Now, I've got a normal start date right here, and I have a modified start date. For the time being, those are both going to be the same, but I can adjust this if I want. And when I do, you'll see that this black bar shifts. Okay? Now what we're going to use this for, this blue bar, is going to be our baseline schedule. And there's another big term for you. What I would equate that to for you is basically when you start a project, generally you have to submit a schedule that shows how you're going to build the project and how you're going to complete it on time. Okay, either the owner or the prime contractor is going to want to see that schedule so that you can prove to them we have an idea on how we're going to build this project and complete it on time. And so in the industry, that is called a baseline schedule. That's just your original schedule showing how you're going to complete on time. Now, we don't live in a perfect world, and, you know, projects aren't perfect. Some things are going to get pushed and not start on time. Okay? So once you get in that position where you're running against a schedule, let's say your baseline schedule, and all of a sudden your tasks are shifting, and what that means is you're not going to complete on time, then you need to adjust that schedule, and you need to make some changes in order to bring it back into alignment so it will complete on time. And when we get to that point, what we're going to do is use this little black bar down here to show your recovery schedule. In other words, the blue line will be, this is what we said we were going to do, but due to circumstances, delays in material, some issues on the job site that you weren't able to complete on time, now we have to follow this black schedule to bring that project back into alignment. And in our recovery schedule, what we're going to do is shift these little black lines right here to show what's really going to happen, and we're going to try to walk that black line back into alignment with the blue line. When it comes back into alignment with the blue line, now we're back on our original schedule, our baseline schedule, okay? But that's jumping a little bit ahead. That's why we have the 2 different colors right here. Now, this schedule is basically self-updating. It updates itself. It shows you what's really happening on the project. So down here where the white area is below the black bar, as you enter time against your schedule, your daily timesheets, it's going to start building a green bar underneath there. It's going to show when you started that task and when you completed that task. And we'll get further into that a little bit down the road. But for right now, I just want to build this schedule. So we're going to keep the blue, we're going to keep the black into alignment with each other for the time being. First task completes on the 23rd, so that's when I'm going to start the second task. See how the bar shoved out? Now, what I like to do is come down here to the bottom and take maybe like this last task, if I know what my completion date is, and let's just say that it's going to be August 31st for the, let's say September 30th for the time being. I'm going to schedule this last task for the completion date, just temporarily. I'm going to scroll back up here, and then I'm going to click this refresh button. It's going to take a minute for this thing to rebuild itself, and now you can see what's happened is it's built the schedule out to the end of September. Okay? Gives us a little room to work with. Okay, so now we can see the second task completed on the 30th of July, so we're going to schedule that task for the 30th of July. And then our next task should start on the 2nd of August. And basically we've scheduled our first crew of 3 workers right there. Okay? Now I'm going to run this second crew at the same time as the first crew, so they're going to have the same start date. We can see that our first task is taking until completes on the 5th of August, so the second task is going to be 6th of August. And there you go, we've got our first 2 crews scheduled. Okay, now I'm going to say that, hey, we're going to go out and do some underground work and get this project kicked off. And then we're going to have to pull off of that project for a month, 30 days, while they pour a foundation and get some walls up, and that's probably optimistic, but we'll just say 30 days. And, you know, get it built up enough that we can come back and start doing the rest of our work. So I'm going to push these other dates out 30 days, which would be July, so August 19th. Then if I click for refresh, these will all push out. Okay, so you can see they've all been shoved out to August 19th. That's pretty optimistic, isn't it? Since there's only a week in between there. So I should have probably done that. Don't do that. Let's take it out a month from completion of our last task. So I'm going to shove it back out to the 9th of September. Okay, so that's when the rest of this work is going to start. Now, I know that it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to build a fantasy schedule, but it's really not that difficult. If you take the drawings out and look at it and see which order you're going to attack this thing, I would like you to schedule the rest of this stuff out. Select your crew sizes for each phase of construction and each task, and they could be all different. Could be switchgear. This is your mechanical circuits up to the roof, I'm sure, for all your air conditioning. This is your feed for your main switchboard. Sorry. Your feed for panel A, panel B. This is the feeder. I'm sorry, this is actually setting this equipment. So these would all be disconnects. This would be your main switchboard. This would be your panel A, B, and M. These will be the feeder conduits that you'll run to them. There's feeder wire down here that you'll pull into each of those. These are your above ground branch conduits, just your conduits out to all of your lighting and receptacles and different pieces of equipment. This is your branch wire that you'll pull into each one of those. Light fixtures for installing light fixtures for each circuit. And this is your trim. So I'd like you to go through here and put these all in order the way you see this thing being built. And there's no right or wrong about it, okay? It's just you getting some practice thinking in your mind how you would approach a project before you ever started and putting things in the right order. And once you get them the way that you think looks good or how you would approach the project, I want you to come down here and look at your manpower. If you have, 10 workers one day and 50 workers the next, and then 5, and then 40, and then 3, that's going to be a problem, right? You're not going to operate your project that way. You're not going to say, hey, I need 50 guys tomorrow, and then let's get rid of those, and we'll just have 3, and then, let's have 40 the next day, and then 2 on the next day. You're going to want to keep a pretty even number of people on site. Now, the way projects work is they ramp up on manpower. I'm sure you're aware of that. And then at the end of the project, they're going to ramp back down. That's called your bell curve, and it's normal to see your manpower ramp up, okay, to a peak of manpower, and then it's going to ramp back down at the end. So what you want to try to create there is a nice bell curve. You want to see a nice smooth transition up to your peak construction, and then you want to see a nice transition down. So when you build your schedule and you get it fashioned the way that looks sensible to you, you need to come down here to this manpower loading chart, and you might need to move some things around to smooth this out. Now, if you're seeing the difference between maybe one bar right here in manpower from day to day, don't worry too much about that. That's kind of normal. And the reason being is this chart's not going to count probably every single person on the project. So what I'm saying is, if you're a few hours over 15 men, it might throw another 2 or 3 in here for the next day, right? You're talking about an extra 15 hours worth of work. You're not going to get an exact perfect curve, but you need to get it as close as you can, and in the field it'll all smooth out as you build your project. But you do need to get it close. You can't have big jumps like this in manpower, or right out of the gate you're not going to succeed. So this is a tool down here to help you smooth out your manpower and make your predictions. And I'm just telling you, if you build your schedule properly, you should see your manpower ramp up. It shouldn't go right straight up to here and then, across and then straight down. It should gradually go up till you hit your peak crew size, and then maybe run along for a while and then drop back down. Okay, I'm going to close this out now, and then I'm going to open up, I think I have in here a schedule that I actually put together for this project in the past, and we'll look at that manpower real quick. Okay? Okay, there's a few housekeeping items I want to go over that I didn't mention yet, and this is an older version of this project that I put together back in 2016 apparently, but I did build out the entire schedule, so I wanted to show you that. Sometimes you can select an entire phase of construction by clicking on this box, and then you can update these dates, and it'll update all of them. If they're in an order like these are here, it'll maintain that order. It'll just push it out or bring it in. So that's one thing you can do to speed things up a little bit. If you only want to work with certain phases, you can click this phase button, and that will bring up the phase list so you can select the phase that you want to work on. If you click the reorder button, it will let you reorder these phases if you think they're out of sequence and you want to change them. It's just a quick way to reorganize them. Don't click the reset button. It's going to reset all your work back to one day right here at the beginning. It's a good quick way to start all over if that's what you need to do, but don't click that or you'll be starting all over. You can adjust your days per week right here and your hours per day. So you want to set that. Normally most projects start with not most I guess, but a lot of projects start with 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and then they escalate from there. But also over in the right you can click on the 3 buttons. Now I'm using the program in Chrome, and it does work best in Chrome, particularly for printing, but it will work in other browsers as well, so it should work in any browser. You can see that I've decreased the size of the screen so that I can see more of my schedule. A lot of times that's pretty handy to work with for working with a big schedule, so that you can see more of it, so you can adjust it there. You can print by clicking here. You can print the schedule. You can also just right click and then select print. That's generally what I do. Any page in the entire program is printable. Just right click and click print. I always print my schedules out and put them on the wall. Generally they end up being 24 by 36. Depending on the size of the project, it may even get bigger than that. You can adjust the size of the schedule a bit in the print function so that you can fit more on there, so you have to fuss with it a little bit that way. Obviously you don't want to get it too small or you won't be able to read it, but you can shrink it up quite a bit just to get it on one page, or sometimes I have 2 pages and just tape them together, put them on the wall. I like everybody to be able to take a look and see what the game plan is, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print a copy of this for you to PDF, and I will include that in your lesson plan. You are welcome to just kind of mirror what I did or follow along. I will tell you that sometimes you have to toggle back to your phase of construction. And your, let's just say, task list, just to kind of reference some of these things, because you'll see, you know, I made this particular project real finite, real granular, because I wanted to show you the level of detail that you could accomplish if you want to. I don't really recommend, you know, going down to this level where you've only got 3 hours per task, or 2 hours per task, but it's possible if that's what you want to do. And so in this particular project where we have these small tasks like this, you know, obviously you could do, one guy could do 3 of these tasks in a day, right? So when you build your schedule, you kind of need to know that, so that, you know, it's going to count it as a day, even that it's only 3 hours. It's going to show a day on your Gantt chart. So you might want to stack 3 of these in a row, and they'll all complete in one day, right? Just a little 411 there. But anyway, my internet's a little slow today. Let me refresh this, and I'll bring you back in. Okay, so I'm going to print this out so that you can follow this along, use it as a model if you want. I would like you to fuss around with this a little bit, just so you get used to the software and comfortable with it. Open up the drawings and take a look at those, and just kind of see how you would build this project, and play around with it a little bit and build your schedule. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here and look at the manpower chart. So this is our initial underground. You can see how it, you know, starts off with the predetermined crew size, and then flows along and then tapers off. This is a little bit rough in here. If before I sent this out or actually used it to work off of, I would probably fuss this a little bit. I got a little gap right in here. I'd move some things around to get a little better flow, smooth this out a little. I'm not too concerned about, like I said, a 1-box jump either way. But the smoother you can make this manpower, you know, the better your project's going to flow, and particularly with your manpower. And then you can see how it tapers off at the end. Just kind of looking for a gradual ramp up here, and then cruise along, and then back down. Something kind of smooth like that. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up, and I'm going to send it out with you. I will send a PDF of this along with it so that you can use it as a reference. Please go through this process, play around with this software, get used to it. You know, if you're going to go to the next level, these are the types of things that you're going to have to do. This is an excellent tool, and you need to know how to use it. You don't want to just skip through these videos real quick, and then all of a sudden someone dumps a project on you, and you got to get up to speed, and you can't remember how to, you know, manipulate the software. You need to play around with it and become accustomed to it and familiar with it, okay? Now, having said that much, I'd like to go a little bit further, because there are some people who still haven't sent me login information so that I can go in and check your work. I'd just like to take a look and make sure that you're participating and going along. And there's this much that I know. A lot of people would love to have all of this knowledge. They'd like you to just take a syringe and poke them in the head and inject it all in there so they can take off and start running. But nothing in life works that way. You have to practice, and you have to learn. okay? And I understand that sometimes people have the best of intentions. They really want to learn information, but maybe life circumstances doesn't permit them the time to make that happen. And not everyone is going to participate and actually learn and utilize the information. But my position is this. I'm a pretty good and decent person, and I like to help people, and I try to help them. But, I go out and work for a living every day too. And right now I'm working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. They'd rather I worked 7 days a week. But I need a day off to get my laundry done and grocery shopping, and it takes a good portion of my day off to put these things together for you. So, if you're not participating or not using the information, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, lock you out of the software, and we'll try it again sometime. So please, if you want to participate, and if you're interested in learning, and if you do want to do this, send me login credentials to your project so that I can go in and take a look at your work and at least make sure that you're, at least following along and trying to, get through the whole series with us. Otherwise, I'm going to probably terminate your subscription, lock you out for the time being. You'll be welcome to come back another time. And then, of course, Thursdays are open. I always try to send out a meeting request. You're welcome to come in and ask me any questions that you want. I'm not offended if no one shows up then. If you understand the information, you don't need any help, that's fine with me. I'll be there if you need me. If you don't, I'm going to wait 15 minutes, just close the meeting out, and go on about my life as well. So I appreciate you guys, and let me get this video wrapped up. I'll shoot it out to you. Thanks.